What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trade Decoded. It is October 1st, 2024. It's 4:11 in the afternoon. And today was a gift. Today's chart was a gift. We had several trade opportunities to take. I personally had my second best trade day since I went full time in September of 2022. But along with me on that ride down, many of our members caught as much, some of, or even more than of a return percentage-wise than I did. That drop this morning was epic. But let's go ahead and launch charts and talk about all the trades that we found. And then we basically stopped after 12 o'clock, basically. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on. So first thing I want to show you guys is as of the making of this video right now, we are currently sitting at 21 reds and 159 greens. That's a pretty good win-loss ratio. I suspect this number is going to get a little bit more green because after the first trade that the people in my room took, most of them logged off before I even put the poll up. As you can see, I put this poll up almost 15 minutes after open. We were out of the trades and most of us were already green and done for the day by the time I posted this. So tomorrow, I suspect that it'll be a wider gap between red and green than it already is. All right, so what were we looking at? Well, pre-market was kind of tame, all things considered. We weren't expecting a huge pre-market or a huge ranging day. Boy, were we wrong on that. Don't know really what contributed to this drop today. I do know that the ports went on strike, so that's going to cause some havoc on shipping delays and costs and product costs and all that stuff. And Iran started lobbing bombs and missiles at Israel. So war. Who knows? Who knows if that's what caused it? I'm not really sure, but I don't really care because we waited for the reason to get in. And then when we did, well, we got down to levels that we hoped we'd get to and beyond. Now, going into the open this morning, I was really hesitant on calls because if you look on the Qs chart, we didn't have much room from where we were opening before we were going to run into resistances. This is always a concern. That's why you don't see a call line up here, but you do see a put line. And I told everybody if we can get below this support here in pre-market on the Qs and SPY, I'd be looking for that move to at the very least go to the next line down. In both of those trades, in here, it wouldn't have been quite as good as the Qs, but the Qs got through their line and closed below it. That would have kept us in this trade anyway. So you would have gotten out of this trade much farther down the road than this line here. So to the upside, what we wanted to do was get free of this pre-market high on the Qs, which we didn't do. We wanted to get above this blue line on SPY, which we really didn't do. And ADD at the open, for a brief moment, was trying to print green. So even though on our opening candle on SPY, we breached our put line, and some people did get into the trade that early, I myself did not get in until the second candle of the day, 9:31, for two reasons. Number one, we were looking at Qs struggling to move higher, which really wasn't the main reason. The more important reason was, look at what ADD started to do on minute number 2 of the market. So you had SPY dumping and ADD dumping and Qs sitting at a line of resistance. That for me was good enough to go. Now the Qs ultimately, after I got into this trade, I was begging the Q gods to get us through this line of support here because I fully believed that if we were able to get through that, at the very least, we were going to make that 43-cent move down to the orange line. Never would I have ever assumed we were going to get a drop like this. Now, as we were in this trade, by the way, I got out here at this point, and you can see that I left quite a bit of money on the table, and I'll tell you exactly how much in a minute. I got out here and ended up being up 116.5% by the time I got out here. Okay. The reason I got out here was because I had no more lines drawn below these 3 orange ones right here. I don't like to be in a trade where we're breaking through low of day and I've got no potential target to aim for. Okay, so for me, this was my mistake. I only drew 3 lines. I only draw 3 lines high and 3 lines low until we take out the second one. Then I'll go add 4, 5, and 6 and so on. This was a me thing, okay? ADD at this time was still, or had bottomed out and was starting to, actually it was still going down. I got out because we hit a level of support, and for me, it was a home run trade. That's why I got out. I was excited. Everything was amazing. This was right here. Okay, so at 9:35, 5 minutes after open, 9:35, right when Q's hit this supports when I got out. Little did I know how much money I was going to be leaving on the table. By the time we got all the way down to here, they were up 380%, which would have been a ridiculous day. Today was a ridiculous day for me, but hey, for other people in our community, they held on longer than I did. As we got near 10 o'clock, we don't like to hold through the 10 o'clock candle. So as we neared 10 o'clock, we also was recommending that people get out of their trades. Now, some people stayed in the trades because they got in all the way up here and they had a lot of breathing room. Okay. What we wanted to realize though, is before we get into puts again, or if you're buying the resistance up here, we drew this red box shortly after all this was made. And I'll show you how well this worked later on. But in order for us to get into puts again, we have to be coming off lower highs, okay? Because at first we were putting in higher lows and trending up. So we really should have been waiting for a break of the trend and a break of support. Most recent support here. You guys, we talk about this all the time. So let's just say you drew this line like this. You want a candle close below and break the most recent support as well. If you wanted to be uber safe, you could have waited for this break of support. Either way, some people got in because lower highs were expecting support to fail. It did fail, but got a little uneasy here because we had to rely on resistance to keep us low. Fortunately, for those who bought at this point because we broke support, got saved because of resistance. Qs were also pulling back to a level of resistance as well, which was right here. And therefore that trade ended up working out uncomfortably, but did. And then we played it to the next line. Now, what was good about this one here is if you look at 1013 on SPY and 1013 on Qs, you were pulling back to a level of resistance at the same exact time. Guys, if we're in a downtrend and we pull back to resistance, like a line of actual proven resistance, okay, on SPY and Qs at the same time, let's go over here. So 1013, at 1013, we are pulling back to resistance during a downtrend on SPY and on Qs. That's as good a time as any. And take a look at ADD. If ADD is still printing red, that's the setup you're looking for, okay? We're in a downtrend. We're pulling back to a resistance, not just on SPY, but also on Qs. And ADD, which is the momentum of small caps for the most part, is still going down. Everything you'd want to see to take puts. Those puts ended up paying. So again, entry point was here, exit point was here. Why was it here? Because it's support here on SPY, ended up getting down to a support area on the Qs. That's what we were looking for. It was Confluence, okay? Now, I want to point out a trade that we were looking for that didn't work, okay? This would have worked if you're an aggressive trader, not worked if you were conservative. I'll show you the difference. We were coming off higher lows. These are higher lows. That means puts are not what we're looking for. When we put in that higher low, we are expecting resistance to fail. So for those of you who play higher lows, you wouldn't have known this was a higher low until we broke out. So you wouldn't have played this aggressively anyway, under my normal rules. But higher low means we're going to break through resistance and head up to the next resistance, which we did. Okay, we got up to the yellow line, was resistance. We got through it. We pulled back, putting in another higher low. Only at this point would you consider taking calls aggressively. We want to get above this resistance. The problem is if you don't look at this as a potential level of resistance, you would got stuck up here. I missed this split candle as resistance. So when we breached this, we were looking for calls. We breached it. We got in, but we got in right near the next resistance up. If we would have waited for this one to clear, we would have been aiming for here. Okay. And we did take that trade that I just told you here a little bit later in the day. Now, this entry was here, was working out on Qs as well. They both broke resistances. They were both coming off of higher lows. They both closed below the support we needed to stay beyond, which would have stopped you out of this trade for a small loss. Okay? That trade did not work. Not every trade works. Now, I was one and done. I'm still continuing my one and done, but only because of what I earned on that one. If I didn't earn that much money or didn't feel that good or that excited about a trade, I would have found several other trades, as you'll find, to take in the day. Okay? We start putting in lower highs again. And at this point, we weren't looking for anything special. Although, again, just keep looking at the lower high scenario, guys. Lower highs, if you were thinking about buying calls off the pink line, just remember we're coming off lower highs. You should expect that support to fail. I have traders in my group, including myself. If I hadn't taken a trade, this is one of my favorite setups. I don't wait for the break of support. I assume that the support's going to break when we're coming off of a lower high. Again, that's telling me that the sellers are getting stronger, not weaker. So I feel like they're putting more pressure on the buyers, that is support. And I want to believe that the sellers are going to be strong enough and put enough pressure on the buyers to cause them to flush or break support. This setup works very, very often. You don't have to trade it. Just go back and look at charts at the end of each day. How many times coming off of higher lows did the resistance to your left hold versus how many times did it fail? You will come to find that they fail a lot more often than they hold. Lower high, break support. Down we go to the next support. We pull back. Lo and behold, another lower high, another support, broken, down to the next support. Okay, this works all the time. Not every time, but often. Okay, I have to be careful how I say this. Now, here's a similar setup to what we were looking for over here. We are bottoming out right on one of our lines. We start to move up. Okay, we pull back. This is a higher low. Guys, higher lows take puts off the table. What we're waiting for is to get above this resistance, and then we're expecting it to run up to the next resistance, which was right here. If we get above that, we're looking for this resistance. If we get above that, we're looking for this, and above that, up to here. Okay, and as you can see, you have exits at all three of those points. Okay, pulled back, higher low, got above resistance. The next resistance was all the way up here. Nice move up, nice clean move up. Everything was great. Beautiful trade. If you stayed in it, and we tell people all the time, simply move your stops in profit as long as you want to hold on to this trade. You might get wicked out, still with a profit. You might stay in, get more of it. Now, at this point, we were pulling back once again to support, coming again off of higher lows. Told everybody, because I was asked, Jimmy, when would be the next call entry you can come up with? I said, well, we're sitting on support right here. At the same time, I believe Qs were sitting on support. Let's double check. 1136. Qs were sitting on support as well. Okay, this support right here. And I said, guys, right now it's a little aggressive because we're kind of close to resistance. So if you're getting into this, your stop loss needs to be a candle close below the support we're sitting on. And what you're hoping for is a close above this resistance area over here. Because if that happens, we'd be aiming for this orange or red box of hell. This is the box of hell. Again, we bought in here. We took it up. We did break resistances and got right up into where we expected to start to struggle moving higher. I reminded everybody on the way up, Guys, if you're in calls, fan film, you're one of them. You remember this. Several people took this trade. I did not because I was done for the day. Several people got into this trade. I said out loud, very clearly, halfway up this move, guys, if we continue up, I want you to be aware of the strength of resistance that exists up here in the middle of this red box. This is a very strong resistance. I personally would not hold through that. If you're going to hold through that, please tighten your stops up in case it does what it's done 100% of the time since we got into that red box. Look at this, guys. We closed here, made an attempt to get back above that. Every time we got up to this point or near it, having gotten below it, we never made it through it again. That is pretty telling. Okay, you can be in calls and hope that we get through this. And if we do, I said I wouldn't touch calls anywhere near here until we get out of the top of it. But that's besides the point. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to maximize our return on a trade that we did take and that we were in. Know where you have problems continuing in the direction you're playing. If you know where that is, you could be prepared when we get there to take profits or have a stop loss in place so that if it does what it did once, twice, and now 3 times, you didn't get caught with your pants down. You might have gotten stopped out with a little bit less profit if you had a stop in place, or you might have maximized that trade. I actually put this circle here before this candle was even halfway done printing. Because I said, guys, I'm putting this exit here in advance because I'm expecting it to hold as resistance. We put it there. If you were in the room, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is all happens beforehand, okay? It rejected hard, okay? We pull up. Now, here was another area of potential support you could have bought calls on. If you were in calls, and we had some people in calls, we recognized, in fact, we saw it on the Qs before we saw it on SPY. So you bought nearing support down here on a pullback. We're hoping to get back up to the orange box or the red box. But if you look at around 1153 on the Qs had already started putting in lower highs a minute before. Okay? Right here. This is your cue if you're in calls to consider getting out or putting yourself on notice. We said this as it was happening. Guys, if this thing doesn't reach the resistance it just came from a second ago, this might be a lower high. You might want to be prepared to get out of this trade. If you got in down here and you got out up here or anywhere up here, you were still in profit. You didn't have to take an L over here. Okay? You just had to trust that lower highs are bad for calls. That's all. Now, not only did we see that and several people got out, some held on. It's your money. You do what you want to do. We ended up putting in another lower high. When we recognized that, I said, guys, I'm expecting this support to fail. We'll probably head down to the pink line from here. Here's your entry. Here's your exit. Lower highs, bad for calls. If you're in them, get out of them. If you're looking to get into puts, this is a good sign. If you're looking to get into calls, this is a bad sign. Okay? We hit support, run right back up into the death box. Don't want to mess around in there. Rejected back. Now, at this point, I went to lunch, so we were not here for any of this. And when I came back from lunch, actually before lunch, everybody had decided we were going to be done for the day because we had such a great day and everybody had already made all their money and everybody was happy. These are the kinds of days that we love and hope to have, okay? More trading doesn't equal more money. There's a guy in our community today, huge green winning morning. By the time I got back from lunch, dunzo. Lost all of his profit, turned a big green day red. Done. Why? Because he couldn't stop fucking trading. You guys keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. You'll come to find eventually, and the hard way, that if you let your emotions determine what you do in this business, you will lose every single time. You will. You'll get lucky sometimes. But at the end, your emotions will be the reason you blow your account up or you fail to make it in this business. I'm telling you, this man could not walk away because he needed more money. Right? And he was the one who told me, Jimmy, I had an awesome morning. I'm done for the day. I'm walking away so I don't do stupid shit, was his exact words. I come back from lunch to find out he did stupid shit. And what did it cost him? Everything he made today and more. Okay? Now, here we go. Back again. The two criteria if you're looking to get into calls, right? So no matter how you want to draw this line, how aggressively, wait for the trend to be broken. You got that, okay? We closed above it. Wait for a break or a close above the most recent resistance to the left. You closed above it. We didn't get above resistance. This candle, big above resistance, ran right to the next resistance. Now you got to wait. Higher low. If you see the higher low, you say, hey, I'm going to get in aggressively, assuming resistance is going to fail this time. You get in, you ride it up to the next resistance. Oh, and then guess what? Another higher low. What should we do here? Buy puts at resistance? Absolutely not. You don't have to buy calls, but God damn it, don't buy puts. Okay? This is called an uptrend. You don't want to buy puts until you break said uptrend, which we never did. In fact, we kept going up. Now, I'm not here for commentary at this point because we decided to take the day off after lunch. But you guys, the rules hold true. Now, I personally don't like trading later in the day because theta is way more aggressive. Pullbacks hurt a lot more. It's just not worth it to me. My win rate drops significantly after 12 o'clock for all of these reasons. Okay? But at the end of the day, price action is king. Not your indicators, nothing else. Price action, and price action determines support and resistance. So those two things combined with each other give you great opportunities for entries, great setups to look for, great profit targets to get out at, and you don't need anything else. Just need to know how to use all these things to your benefit to increase your odds of winning. That's it. There's nothing fancy on my chart. There's no volume. There's no scales on the side. There's no SMAs. There's no, RSI. All these things. Tick, VIX, none of it. You don't need it. We're trading SPY. SPY's got as much volume as you can ask for under normal circumstances to not have to worry about low volume. Some days we do have low volume, but it's not typical. You don't need to overcomplicate this. Okay, you'll have analysis paralysis. You'll have a million different reasons to take trades if you're using indicators and things like that. You'll have a million reasons to second guess yourself. What if your indicator is telling you not to take a trade, but everything else is telling you should take it? You're going to take it because everything else does, and if it fails, you're going to say, I should have believed the indicator. If you take it because the indicator tells you, or you don't take it because the indicator tells you not to, and then it ends up doing what everything else told you it was going to do, you'll blame the indicator for not working, right? It's tough, okay? But I'm telling you, just look for some of the things that I try and teach you guys in these videos. It costs you nothing to watch these other than time. And time is very valuable. I understand that. I try to minimize how much of your time I take. But the information I'm giving you will well make your time spent watching this worth it. Because you can make real money with this information. Okay? It doesn't happen overnight. You're going to have to get comfortable looking for these setups. You're going to have to get comfortable trying to play them. But first, just watch how often they work before you put a red cent into the market or into our Discord community. I'm telling you, higher lows. Just, if anything, stay away from puts when we're putting in higher lows. That's it. Just that simple rule. If we're putting in lower highs, just stay away from calls until that trend is over. Okay? Higher lows, we break resistance. Where do we go? Right up to the next resistance. If we get through that, where are we expecting to go? Just look left, right here, where we struggled for a couple of candles. Got through that, where are we going next? Up in here, where we struggled for a few candles. Still putting in higher lows, the buyers started to win. And what happens? Ultimately, we break out of the red box, turn it into support, and up we go to the next resistance. And then we kind of just chopped and fizzled out into the close. Guys, I'm doing the best I can. I know most of you guys don't watch these videos to the end because they're too long, and that's your loss. At this point, I'm giving you all I got. I'm telling you everything that works. If you want to utilize this information, it's free for you to do so. If you want to jump into our Discord so we can discuss it in real time, it's hard to see these things in real time for some people, but the patterns are the patterns. Statistics are statistics. I give you a free week to listen in and take all the advantages that come with being a paying member that cost you nothing. You just got to show up in our Discord and you'll have the access. Okay? It doesn't have to cost you anything. If you like what you get for that free week, maybe consider helping support my guys, support the community, and pay for some education. Because when this is being done in real time, it's useful. You could see it put to work in action. And there's some value to that, at least in my opinion. If you ask the people who are paying members in our community now, they'll certainly tell you it is. Some people tell you just my lines of support and resistance are worth the price of admission alone. But using them is where the real magic is. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Hope you found some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, we'd love to have you. There are links down below. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you all had a fantastic day today, like many of us did. And till tomorrow, I love you guys. See you.